what's a Raspberry Pi? Do you eat a Raspberry Pi? Nah. Raspberry Pi is a tiny little computer. So this is a Raspberry Pi. In its main form, it's got HDMI ports on it. It's got a USB-C for power. It's got audio out. It has a video screen out, or you can also plug in cameras to these. It's got USB ports, a LAN plug. This model even has onboard Wi-Fi, and it has a whole bunch of pins that let you interface into the Pi and out of the Pi. And I'll explain that more in a second. This is also a Raspberry Pi, just a different model. This is a Raspberry Pi in a really great box. This is a Pi 400, which is now available as a maker kit. And it has a keyboard attached and ports on the back. And this is a Raspberry Pi Pad. So it's like an iPad, but inside of it, there's a Raspberry Pi. So that's great. What does it do? Just like a regular computer, you can boot this up, and it's got a version of Linux on it, which looks almost the same as Windows, and it acts pretty much the same as Windows. There's a whole bunch of programs on it that you can do programming with. You can surf the web. You can also turn this into a gaming machine. So you can put on a different type of software on it, which allows you to run emulators for video games, and then you can plug in USB joysticks and run that way. The hard drive is a micro SD card, so you can have a whole bunch of different hard drives loaded up. One could have the regular Raspberry Pi interface on it. One could have the emulation station for setting up retro gaming or whatever custom setups you want to do. And you can just quickly swap the hard drives in and out. So on the Raspberry Pi and most microcontrollers, there's these pins, which we talked about are called inputs and outputs. And an input is something like a switch. So on this one, we can program it to be a button on the keyboard, or in the real world, a switch would also be an input. And when I make that connection, something happens. However, on the Raspberry Pi, when I press this, nothing happens until I program it in the code. Okay. So we've just seen what an input does. Now an output makes something happen in the real world. So if I want to turn on this light, I can't just plug it into here and it'll light up. I need to use a relay so that this is a bigger voltage than what this puts out, and I don't want to fry the circuit. So this little voltage turns this relay on and off, and this relay turns the big voltage on and off. So it's like a triggered switch. So right here, I have a ginormous relay. This is a little relay, and you can't really see inside of it. On this side, we have a small circuit that accepts outputs from the microcontroller. On this side, it's like a big switch. So this relay here is like this. And this is a ginormous relay, and you can actually see there's a little coil in here, and that makes this part move up and down. And this is my power. So my power goes through the relay, and it's broken right here, and the light won't light up. But when I turn on one of my output pins on my microcontroller, it will trigger this relay like that. This tiny relay is exactly the same as this relay, but this one's for much larger voltages, and it's really old. But inside of here, there's a tiny little one of these coils.